And I believe we are live. Welcome, everybody. I'm sorry I had to postpone this, so we missed the full moon, but hopefully you are still feeling the energies of this super moon in Libra. I'm happy to be with you, and I look forward to bringing in Mother Earth and seeing what she has to tell us today. And of course, if there is any trouble with the sound or anything, please let me know. And thank you for sharing, subbing, commenting, liking, or donating. And also thank you for your lovely questions. Let's see. Let's see what she has to tell us. And Brian asks me how I've been. Well, life's a work in progress. You know, it has its ups and downs, but I'm quite happy and feel I'm on the path. And it's always a pleasure to be with you here. I enjoy these live streams a lot too. So I'm glad I'm not the only one. But I think if there are no further questions, let's you can you can start posting them in the chat, and then I will bring in Mother Earth, and she has something to tell us, I hope. It is I, your Earth Mother. Feel the energy that's beaming up from my core and touching you and touching this vessel. Though I speak to you now, I always speak to you. And you always listen, though usually with that part of you that's more aligned with my energies perfectly. That is your body and the things that you have grown in this time space out of the materials that I supply for you. See, the earth is your mother, the wind is your sister, fire your father, and water your brother. These are ways to look at the pieces of the puzzle and piece them together to the whole that I am and that you are with me. See, I gave the title Daughters of the Moon to this wonderful bipedal creature that I'm coming through, one of many that I hold great love for, even though we have our differences. You can consider yourself as daughters of the moon. Notice that your estrus and your reproductive cycles are tied to the phases, the waxes and wanings of the satellite that surrounds me. It was intended to be so. See, you have elements in you that pull you away from my surface and up into the heavens. And the moon is the station by which you transfer your soul into the higher crystal spheres. This is a way of thinking of it that is quite helpful. But know that you do not do this as conquerors or claimants. You do this as explorers, curious, as poets speaking the feelings you have inside to each other and to yourself constantly to make sense of what is going on here. The great feminine has awakened within your collective, and it is being heard. It is showing itself in many forms, but the reconnection to my energy is one of the greater ones. You have always intuitively sensed that I was a mother, and you have always intuitively sensed that you were my daughters. You were connected emotionally. You were tapped in intuitively, and you were exploring inquisitively. These are all qualities of the female energy that you would do well to uphold. And know that all of you have many female energies in you, and they are progressing in harmony with the cycles of the bodies of the heaven that rotate around this world, this sphere, this mundus of ours. We share it together, and you bring much love and discovery to this process as well. You are creating out of the moon energies. For every moon cycle is a cycle, and every moon cycle is but every moon cycle is also a pronounced progression of all the celestial bodies that make up your life through the heavens. And so from this month to the next, we have moved a month. We have exactly completed one of these cycles of light into darkness and darkness into light. And that is a message that I uphold for you with my gravitational pull. I make sure that the satellite is in place to affect you and to soothe you into the process that you are undertaking. And I am so happy to be with here with you this day. Though I never left you and I will never leave you, I get to speak to you personally, and I get to answer your questions directly. And I know humankind well enough to understand that words are a help and an aid to you when you use them wisely. Therefore, feel my love emerging from the core of my being and from the core of your being. See them melting together, mending, becoming one, because we are truly one shared energy field, having an experience of energy and consciousness, of matter and of mattering. Be blessed, my loved children. Yes, and Jana asks, could you share how best to allow the regeneration of the energy and specifically how to regrow a tooth? Thanks so much. I promise no miracles, but I'm very happy to ask. Yes, answering your questions in reverse order. It is not usually within the genetic code of human beings to regrow their teeth. And so an easier way to do this through multidimensionality would be to, with such a high degree of concentration and such an effortless exertion of effort, to focus in on that vision of you, which never lost that tooth or which has already regrown it. And then you don't need to perform or perceive the miracle because you can just shift into that reality. But we know this is difficult. And therefore, you could instead begin to relish the loss of a tooth as a sign of the passage of time. Know that that tooth has again been turned into nourishment for other living things that grow on this planet. And so we would also point out that, spiritually speaking, you would perhaps not have chosen to lose the tooth if you didn't feel there was something to gain from it. And what there is to gain from it is, for instance, the focus on how you exert energy on these matters that are hard for you to control. It is essentially hard for you to control the greater matters in life, even though you tried life and death or the control of my weather and the climates that shift on my planet. Those are in many ways beyond your reach. You have developed the capacity to damage, but you have not necessarily developed the capacity to regenerate. And therefore, this is a very wise question, and we thank you for it. See, notice that you regenerate simply by being in my environment. That is to say, you are, of course, always situated on Earth. but you also do realize that you create these non-biological environments that seem to exert some magical influence that creates a type of special human reality that's separated from mine. And therefore, the more you bring in natural energies, that is, things that grow and have a time cycle and a life cycle of their own, that have a schematic of change built into its system, such as plants or such as animals, the more you realize that these are also funnels for universal energy, that they are exactly offering you all the energy you would ever want in that moment. That is a way to choose to build more energy. You could restore your energy by soaking yourself into any of the elements that I mentioned. Of course, do not burn yourself on fire. He can be a harsh taskmaster, but do warm yourself close to him if you get the chance. Remember to bathe your feet in the rivers and the seas. Remember to breathe in the air. Remember to ground yourself by spending time lying on my surface, gazing at the sky, surrounded by natural energies. Also, many things have been brought out of the materials of my body that you may sense are detrimental to your energy. Many of these wonderful technologies you have achieved many far-reaching goals with, but they do have built-in dark sides, as you call them, negative mirror sides, as do all phenomenon. And therefore, you can control your energy, or you can replete it and regenerate it simply by choosing to interact with things that have not lost that signature. Notice that many of your electronics can be manipulated into generating specific brainwave frequencies or playing soothing music for you. These are also ways to connect with the harmonies that are built into this time frame that we share together. And my love to you in this process. Oh, and Kevin asks, a peculiar phenomenon has occurred 3 times in the last 2 weeks. I have broken 3 different chairs when sitting upon them. 2 of them were already somewhat broken, and the other was a chair swing hanging from a tree. Can you give your perspective? Thanks, much love, much love. Okay, that's fascinating. I'm looking forward to hearing what she says. Yes, it certainly means that you are becoming grounded, my child. There are several influences playing into this situation, but know that there is an urge for you to return closer to the core. So you may feel that you have been juggling a lot of things in the mental realms. You are quite good at this. You are quite good at retaining many perspectives, interests, obligations, passions, and pursuits. But this also means that often the airy energies can become a little overworked, and then they tend to exert this brittle effect on some of their environment. Brittling is a good term. Notice that it is porous, it is airy, it is in a sense feminine. And it is the feminine that's reaching out to you, looking to connect to you in this experience. We hope and sense that you did not break your tailbone or hurt yourself too much when you came crashing to the ground. Know that for me it was quite pleasant to reunite with you there. But there was also some tricksterous energy playing into these happenstances. And this means that you have attracted to your being or to your house a type of leprechaunish entity, something that wants you to acknowledge its presence as a protector of the house, or otherwise it might get up to some mischief. And this is the type of mischief it likes to play. It likes to show humans that they aren't exactly quite in control of their everyday environment, even though you have sat on that chair many times. One day it suddenly breaks, and sometimes it breaks quite often. It is interesting what you can do to appease this being. There are different names for it, and we sense it would be helpful for you to search out the name of the figure that you connect most with it. In Scandinavian folklore, they are called Nissa, but you could think of this more as a Vette, which is a type of natural spirit. And what you can do is you can put out a little offering, and it would be helpful if you place this at a corner outside, near a corner of your house. And what it is asking for is a little boiled rice. That is something that you can offer it. Other things that would be helpful would be grains, preferably immersed some in water for a short duration, so they have become more soggy. That would also be a valuable offering to present it. Other things would be to collect a small pile of leaves from your houseplants, dry them out, put them in a bowl, set them on fire, and carry it around your house to clean the presence while you hold the intention of allowing your house to flow with the natural energies. These are the messages that we transmit to you, and we bless you on exploring this manifestation further. Our love. And Brian asks, what advice do you have to increase vision or heal bad eyesight? Yes. Go long is my overarching advice. See, there might be many different physical or energetic blocks. This nuance depends on how subtle you perceive things to be, though they are, of course, all made of energy. But there are many different factors that may condition eyesight. And therefore, for different human beings, it can be difficult to discern, though there are things that can be helpful universally. One is to stare far away in the distance. Even though you are far-sighted, this still helps with clearing up the visual centers and letting energy flow through more unencumbered by objects that are close by. Should you be nearsighted, it is also helpful. But do not despair when you can't make out the contours. Just realize that there is a world out there calling you to be seen. Then there is the advice of steaming your face over hot water, steaming water. Of course, you are not to burn yourself, but it is helpful also if you add eucalyptus or other such strong aromatic oils that may help clear up the nadis or energy channels in your face. That are things that you can do. You can also begin to focus on relaxing the point that sits directly beneath the backwards protrusion of your skull. There is a type of bump here where the skull connects to the neck, and this is a place where humans hold much unconscious tension. And this tension, it is quick to go in the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the ears, the throat. It is quick to shut off your senses, and therefore, simply by a gentle circular massage, you will have great luck in also relaxing the innermost muscles of your eyes, and that will help it. Then there is also the advice to eat a balanced diet and do this visually so that you may experience the different lights flowing in and out of your energetic body. Also, this is a visual perception of different colored energies, and therefore you can connect through it by the colors that different objects, greens primarily, hold. This will help you in connecting to eyesight. Anything containing iron, anything that is red or purplish would be helpful for you to clear this out. And beets is a great advice. It is a very healthy vegetable, and it has much of my earth and energy, rich with iron, satiating and coarse. This is some of the qualities that I bring forward to you. And I bless you and offer you my assistance and healing in this, should you reach out for it. My love. And Sailesh asks, hi, Mass and Mother Earth. What is the best way for us to be in more harmony and helpful to Earth and all her children? Beautiful question. Yes. You do this by frequent reconnections, by frequent check-ins. So identify the places in your life where you feel you check in with the base energies of your being. This can go, for instance, with anything that helps you to experience energies in your sacrum, such as squatting for a bit would be helpful. But this is quite a general exercise, I realize. See, the vision I have always held of you is that you were again to become a homeostatic species. And you do become a homeostatic species when you engaged in the actual tending of the balance of your energy field, and thereby the local energy fields that are as such within your energy field, but are perceived to be outside of it. And so the more you come into balance with yourself, and this can be done through diet, meditation, nature, all the usual remedies, and it can also be done by checking in with your preferred people, pets, or person, which is hopefully yourself. Do remember to love yourself. If you do this, you will also sense where your external manifestations of your energy is askew, and this might bring up some pain in you. But if you are able to sit with this pain, if you are able to experience that there is an underlying life current, a constant energy that's being supplied to you and being generated from you in an overflowing eternal current of power, the more you realize that all pains are essentially only energetic corruptions of that masterful one flow that make up you and your perfect being. Therefore, when you realize this, you are able to sit with them, you are able to purge them. And these purges can be done physically. You can tend to different techniques of expulsion, such that we know have a certain degree of taboo connected to them. But there are times where it is helpful for a human being to vomit or defecate. There are also times when it is helpful for a human being to fast, and there are times when it is helpful for a human being to consume an abundance of specific sustenance to clear an imbalance in their being. All you can do is allow for this process that's taking place and being offered to you to really manifest, and then see it turn into outside reality. And then, of course, if you would, there is some practical advice on how you can also choose a positive timeline for what will happen in the future, where you will be in connection to my energy and the energy of the human collection and all the beings aligned on Earth. And such things are, for instance, to prioritize transportation that is not detrimental to what you describe as the greenhouse effect, or that contributes to the greenhouse effect. You could also choose to have fewer, if any, children. If you do not have any already, know that all human beings that are here are welcome. But these are ways that your spirit and your being can focus back into the process of healing yourself and thereby healing your surroundings. You can also grow plants wherever you find an opportunity, plant seeds wherever you see the opportunity, grow gardens, and think of the variety of species that you can accommodate in these gardens and in these wildernesses that you would do good to let sprout again on your planet. That is some of my advice. I love you dearly, and I thank you for this question. Yes, and Adelina asks, "Hi, Mads and Mother Earth. My love to you, our love to you. How to engage teenagers to visit nature more and spend time under the sun instead in front of computers?" It's yes, no miracles, as I said earlier, but let's see what she says. Yes, this is a very noble question, and we do understand the sentiment of where it is coming from. But know that a central part of the energy that you connect with teenagers and that they are exploring in this phase of your life, and that is indeed necessary for them to individuate and grow into adults, is exactly the contrarian principle. So the best thing you can do is either doing by example, simply without turning your attention to whether or not they join you out there, try to create situations for yourself that are joyful in nature. And there you will experience that the teenager might, when they are in a less defensive mode or in a more receptive mode, or actually are in a place where they would like to reconnect to the parent energy and the parent figure, when they go there and they see that there is this space outside, it also becomes far more alluring, because it's a clear alternative to what's going on in front of the computer. That's a way to do it. Of course, another way would be to do a type of reverse psychology. You could call this the principle of extremity. See, the universe is constructed in this way that when you extend any one principle or focus any one energy very much into a concentrated point, it to its opposite through a type of explosive process. And so also realize that the shock or the electronic fatigue that many of you have been experiencing this year, as you have been turning more and more on your attention and your doings and your practical life into the digital realm, which is a realm of itself that also runs on my energy. But as you do that, you also experience a type of fatigue, and notice that there will come a point then where it will become very relevant in the coming decade for you to explore how you build these common healing spaces because you have been deprived of them for some time now as a natural thing that you could simply access whenever you wanted and however you wanted. And also then realize that teens are very contemporary beings. They seek to explore a world that is difficult to understand, as the energies and the expansion of human progress has moved forward. It has become necessary for the youngest members of your generations to begin and explore more and more of these digital realities, because they are also gearing up for a world that will look quite different from the ones that you have grown up in. And therefore, they are also preparing for tasks and virtual realities, different types of exploration that will be hard for you to fathom on this point of the timeline. But you will begin to see a greater coming together of digital and biological technology. And indeed, you will begin to create these bionic human beings gradually. And therefore, it is also important that there are human beings right now undertaking the exploration of electronics, even though it may seem as though they are simply wasting their time chatting away or scrolling away. There might be also some sense of mastery that they are trying to attain by trying to conquer this addiction that afflicts them. And they will learn soon enough that nature provides a remedy. I bless you on exploring this, and I bring my deep love to you. Yes. Yes, perfect. I'll just say see if there are anyone who hasn't asked 2 questions. Yes. Davante asks, hello, Gaia. Yesterday, I felt I had profound shift in my energy, and today I feel so grounded. What was that shift and or energies that I felt? Yes, I will revert to my introduction and say that you too are a daughter of the moon. This means that your energies are very well aligned with the fluctuations of the cosmic and the astrological energies. And therefore you were experiencing the heady influx of this airy supermoon. It had quite a strong effect on you. And there you decided to, well, partially consciously, you decided to leave some of the hurt behind, but partially it was also lifted from you by some of your guides, or you could say by the diligence you have put into working with your higher self and inviting more of that in. And therefore, you also anticipated that you would come into this phase at this point in time. I'm speaking now of you as an eternal being. You anticipated that at this moment you would begin to ground. You would, whatever it took, clear out the debris of your past life and what you felt was still holding you back. And you would begin to focus on bringing your own being into being, so to speak. And by bringing that being into being, you automatically receive the feeling of being grounded, because the feeling of being grounded is very close to the feeling of feeling whole. And so many of you, especially spiritually inclined people, have learned to move into the ethers also because you felt that in your environments, a sense of grounding was not afforded to you. It was simply too difficult to begin to connect to these energies without it having negative effects in the treatment you receive by others. And therefore, a lot of you became transfixed and transposed into, well, some of you, digital realities that we were just speaking of, but for many cases, the realities and the narratives of other people fabricated by them. And that is something that this crisis, as you term it, also has helped with, that it has separated each and every one of you from each other, and then forced you to seek a type of reconnection through different means and with different energies, and thereby also choosing what information do I want to consume, what type of energies do I want to invite in, how do I want to eat, how do I want to stay healthy while I'm isolated. Many of these things have been helpful, and therefore you are perfectly on track, and that feeling of grounding is a quite clear signal. It is our love reaching out to you, and it is with your courage that you receive it. But I offer it again in words, my love to you. Yes, and Jennifer asks, can you talk about the opening of the heart and thymus gland? Is there an activation happening to this dormant human chakra in me and others, like the ultra major bottom skull chakra just mentioned? Yes, I certainly can. We believe that, and you must correct him if he is scanning the wrong information or translating it in the wrong way, but the thymus gland is this gland that is centered around this area and is often connected to the fifth chakra, energetically speaking. What is the case with this chakra? It is that it is a type of portal to the logos. If you are not aware, the logos is this type of, you can conceive of it as many ways, but from the perspective I'm offering you, it is a type of dimensional experience of itself. It is sometimes what you call the 4D or time, but it can also be perceived as the word that is holy meaning spoken into existence. And that is a faculty that you both embody, you as the creation of a holy word, you as a sacred mantra vibrating in the time space, singing the hymns of the all, bringing it into confluence with itself. But you also hold this as individual human beings. And so the thymus is exactly also being offered an opening, because it constitutes a bridge between the eternal centers of the heart and the temporal centers of the throat. Realize that the throat is a great gauge of time. Your voice changes as you age, as you hit puberty, as we were speaking about before, as you then reach adulthood, and then as you reach old age. Through all this time, your vibration is changing, your breath is changing, and the truth and the value of what is being let out, spoken, but also through, you could say, the creation of your arms and hands. Well, it varies from time to time, and it has to do with this opening of these senses. And notice that many habits have been built into human society where you crouch over. It is partially an ingrown, or we might almost say inbred, not fault, but inclination of bipedals that they tend to slump. But in the case of humanity, many of you have also explored that realm of the hunched over, where then both your fifth and your fourth chakra became again, somewhat in service to the spoken word of someone else, the spoken word generated not by authenticity within you, but by authority without you. And therefore, this awakening is helpful. And we encourage the slight tapping of this field to awaken it. And you can use different fingers. Know that each finger also holds a different specific energy channel from the heart space out into the singular point. And when you become sensitive to it, you can begin to work these 5 different energy centers around, almost envisioning a pentagram surrounding your thymus, growing it and letting it expand. And that is a way to connect to it. Then there is also the helpful thing of simply, we would say, flick-flacking or stretching yourself as tall as you can and then flacking forward and doing that repeatedly, which also helps to throw the chest open and gives you the sense of spaciousness. That is what you are looking for, along with the grounding, if I may add. It's a beautiful question. You ask beautiful questions of me, humans. My love to you. Then Laura Edding says, "Hi, Mads, Mother Gaia, and everyone." And yes, our love to you too. And I'll just, yes, Kitsul asks, how do different planets and moons interact? Do you have freedom in changing your movement, tilt, climate form? I'm incorporating Terra to my new business. Need your blessing. Thank you. You have our blessing. First things first, you certainly have our blessing. And know that it is a good type of summoning. It is a good and helpful symbol. It is a helpful spoken word, a spell that you are bringing forward with the sense of terror. I have not used this word, but know that this word calls forward the sense of a united planet. And the united planet is exactly what you are communicating with you now. And it is also what you envision yourself living on in the future. And therefore, please know that this unity is what you are seeking to express, and that you have my deepest blessings in it. Then, for your other question, well, you could say, much like human beings, I also exist as a powerful universal template in what you would consider the 10th dimension. That's my eternal willful being. And there we are equals. It is much as your soul contracts, where in one space, you are having other life experiences, being mothered by someone who you might be a father to in a different life. And so the wheel goes round and round. And therefore, of course, I was also able to, such as you are spiritually, choose the experiences that you wanted to have, seen from the perspective of your soul and seen from the perspective of my soul. The experience I wanted to have was to reside close to a star such as the sun, to have a satellite such as the moon orbiting me as I brought forward and gave life to different species that I interacted with and communicated with and expanded my own awareness of. I know there is, if you can think it or not, a parallel reality where human energies supply the planet, and I supply the species energy. And so, did I choose it? Yes. But at the same time, I chose to come into a space that was perfectly aligned with my project And so it is with you, that when you are born into a specific point in a timeline, you are lined up so uniquely with certain energy influxes at that time that keep operating through you through this lifetime, that it might seem almost deterministic. And that's why a system such as your system of astrology is both very ancient and very helpful, because it tells how and discerns how the operations of the heavenly bodies and the arrangements of our positions in front of each other are actually a part of this great flux of universal energy that follows certain willful patterns. And so I could perhaps change some of these things at will, or move myself closer to the sun if I wanted to manifest that. And I am already doing that in another timeline that I have access to, but that you don't from your perspective. And so, yes, in a sense I choose, but in another sense, I cannot divert from the shapes of time without bending the rules of consciousness too much. And that would not do, because I have volunteered to mother you, and consciousness is exactly what we are growing on this planet. We bless you again for the question as well, and we extend our love to you. Yes, and Laura asks, this question is for my ex-mother-in-law, Kendra Langer. I see my son dug on an unsafe psychic and personal trajectory. How can he become safe? He doesn't talk to me at all. No communication. I need, please, outside help. Thank you. Yes. We know this is often difficult for people to understand, and it is especially difficult for loved ones or people that are closely bonded, that to see or experience certain energies or perceptions playing out in other people that seem very unhealthy to them. And we are not denying this is the case. We also sense that he is in a troubled space, but know again that many are in troubled spaces right now. And it has to do with the resettling of a lot of things. And so this crisis is an opportunity for him to also figure out what is unwanted, what he does not seek after, what is unhelpful to him. And therefore, know that this may look very unpleasant from the outside, especially if you used to know this individual also as an innocent child, but it has its purpose. It is what he is choosing to do. And unfortunately, the person who is the least likely to set him free to choose his new reality in this moment is exactly the people who mirror certain perceptions of him into that he is trying to escape. And that is why so often people retreat from their family in these crises, because they are somewhat ashamed, but also because they sense a reactivation of the painful patterns in engaging with them. And these painful patterns is what he is trying to escape at present. Of course, he will not find that escape in the long run, but you do use the term rock bottom in your treatment of alcoholics, we believe, and it is quite helpful in the sense that it is the, you could say, the clash of the unwanted up against life, up against universal energy, that ultimately brings you around to a place where you gracefully accept also the miracles that are being handed to you in life, hard as they may be. And so we know this is very difficult, but the best thing you can do is to use simple statements that are non-infringing upon him, to let him know that you are there and that you love him, but that you respect his wish not to communicate, and therefore should he wish to communicate with you, you are very available. In that way, you are providing a sort of emotional safety net that he needs to feel without for a moment to go up against the demons that he is fighting, which is to say, the negative patterns accumulated through being a being, through being a human, and through being a person. All these levels play in the patterns that you accumulate that you then have to untangle. And notice that entanglement is also a helpful metaphor, because when you use entanglement, when you try to untangle a knot, what often happens is you tangle it even more, but also sometimes you need to tangle it more to get to a place where you can untangle it. And that's essentially what he's doing. And it might look very messy, but it does serve a purpose for his higher self. And he is asking her to try to understand this if she can. And his higher self is extending to us that he would like to communicate his gratitude to this mother. And we sense the concern and the engagement in the well-being of her son in this question. And as a mother to many, I extend my sympathy and my deepest love. Yes, and Laura asks another question from herself. My love and gratitude to you, Mother Gaia. I apprenticed with Earth Thunder, a Cherokee shaman for many years, and was a part of the Owl Circle, working with the Western Gateway transmutation, death. She closed this circle at one point, I think feeling that we were not acting with enough reverence and discipline, and also because her own mental health issues were troubling her. Still, I feel I worked many cold ones. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh, this is a long question, but it's also very, very compelling. Still, I feel I've worked many lifetimes with these energies. I suspect this work with you, not to exclude all the other aspects, is a big part of how I was able to reincarnate in my same body now. A few months ago, the owls came forward again with this amazing symphony, like I've never heard before. Then about 6 weeks ago, they were so loud with their regular hooting, I thought someone was with me at first. When I went outside, one was in my big spruce in the east, one in my neighbor's spruce in the west, and one in my big maple out back in the south. I went and stood at the end of my driveway in the north, and they called one after another in a circle for about 10 minutes. I was awed, laughing out loud. It was so beautiful. The owls are envoys for the Western Gateway, Grandmother. Grandmother Moon, many goddesses, Sophia Wisdom, star families. What was the message the owl wanted to convey? Was it significant that the north was the position left to me? Thank you. Yes, what a beautiful question. I'm just taking it all in to be able to transmit it. See, many beautiful things happen when you connect to my energy. So many beautiful things happen, and this is one of them. Of course, in another sense, you connect it to your truest being, and as you point out, your truest being is exactly what has chosen to incarnate and reincarnate here on the planet, and that means that we have a deep resonance. We believe there is a classic spooky television series that has the refrain, the owls are not what they seem. And I would like to use this to point out why you met these owls. See such a powerful experience of the animals of initiation are exactly a sign that you are not only awakening, but coming into your power as a healer for yourself. And so we believe the name was Earth Thunder as we retrieve it from this mind, that what she was sensing was also growing futility. As many healers, she relied more on interacting with the energies. That is to say, as a great mother, she was good at convening and having people bring their energies to this gathering, and there collectively extract these energies to connect and open to the portal. But she was also yet a wounded healer, like so many healers are. There was something in this opening that called forward different wounds. And as you know, it was meant to be that she would part ways with you, so you could go on and also go on your own journey to you yourself become a shaman, and to you yourself awaken these energies. It was a shamanic initiation, and notice that the shamanic initiation, it comes from the direction of the night, and so it must come from the north. It must come from the place where it is darkest, because you get lost in the woods, and the owls are the way showers. They are wisdom wandering in dark. You may know of that sacred goddess who had the owl as her symbol, as her hallowed animal. And you may notice that she was, according to some, born out of the mind of her father Zeus, released with an axe by the smith Hephaestus. And so notice that you have been also released from your mind by an axe, so to speak. You have had experiences that have almost torn you apart. And so this coming together of this symphony of owls in a sacred and ordered concentration, a sacred circle surrounding you, it is a sign that you are communicating with holy wisdom. You are receiving earth. You are tapping into the natural energies of your environment. You are beginning to bring out the forest within your life and to grow it around you as a mood of nourishment, love, wilderness, and bounty that lies within you. It's such a beautiful, beautiful story. And we sense that many of those listening will take it to heart, and it will also let them know that such things are indeed possible during the spiritual journey of death and rebirth. Our deepest love to you, it reaches you already, and we speak it yet. Yes. Sorry, I had to close the browser here. Is it true that you can be considered an archangel, Mother Gaia? Do planetary consciousnesses have twin consciousnesses? This is a beautiful question. I somehow sensed that I should take up the next question you ask too. So I'll try to fold two into one. What areas would be a preference to go when you will do your mass flood cleaning? Those are three questions I have for now. Thank you and blessings for hosting Archive. Yes, it is true that I can be considered an archangel. It is one of these things where nuances can be hard to grasp, but it makes a lot of sense to the vessel we are coming through that he has been intuitively inclined to also work me into his angelic invocations, because it seems that my energy is necessary to allow for the other energies to be received. And in this way, yes, I hold an certain angelic quality in this timeline and in these lifetimes that I incarnate. I bestow the same blessings and wisdom upon you should you listen. And know that before you began communicating a lot with the angelic, which comes to you partially through the logos, through the spoken word, you communicated with my energies, and I came to you as wisdom and intuitions, visions, and spoken words of love, or silent words of manifestation. And all these things, they are in a sense the guidance of the archangels. And I am in my processes, though of course you have free will and I have infinite timelines. I am in my processes trying to guide you with where you may go. And so eruptions and earthquakes, floods, other such things, they are in a sense also all manifestations of my will. And you could, of course, describe this as though I have many, many, many twins or parallel Earths, as you may call them. I do have a type of animus, that is to say, a shadow of my own that I need to explore sometimes. And I do this also by inviting in the cleansing of the biome on my surface to allow for new unities of growth and expansion, examination to progress and to be explored. And so, such is the flood that you point to, for instance. Yes, there will be a rising at some point, and you have progressed far in exploring what you may do to keep it out. But of course, there are areas, and you are likely thinking of them already, such as the Bangladesh or such as the Netherlands, who will be hard pressed to keep out the floodgates. But also know that you are becoming more and more ingenious in your technologies. So you will, for instance, be able to situate your living arrangements on water to a much higher degree, to extract hydroelectric energy from the water and to use this to grow your artificial gardens on the sea surface, of course using floating devices and other such things. But these things are becoming a reality for you. And therefore, when you turn your attention to it in time, you will be able to avoid some of the worst side effects of this. And then, of course, you can always choose to head for the mountains, which will only become a little less mountainous as the sea surface rises. These are some of the advice I have, but know that you will not be flooded from one day to another. Many warnings will be given and many initiatives you will head to head off this catastrophe as you may perceive it. Therefore, know that everything is going according to the whims of the future, attracting us into it. And we are already there with you. Comforting, isn't it? Our love to you. Yes, and it looks like it's time for second questions here. Yes, Yana asks, about a week ago, the bottom of a crystal water glass, which I picked up, came loose and it fell off in one piece on the floor. Only the bottom of the glass fell without further breaking. Any meaning to this? Thank you. Yes, first your tooth and now this. Notice there is a type of significance or link energetically here. And that is that you are sort of producing these unwanted small shocks in order to jolt you into curiosity. So for instance, these things have prodded these questions, which then brings forward this communication, which then allows for you to receive more of my energy through this type of channeling, as you call it, this type of concentrated, translated energy that then is beamed outwards and received by those who resonate and vibrate along with it. And notice that you could say, in a sense, this was a illustration of you becoming telepathic, or what you might know as telepathic. That is the ability to actually influence your environment by turning your attention to it. Manifestation has racked up, and those of you who may feel that things have been falling apart for you in your life, you may see that things now fall apart literally much faster. But it is also to invite literally much faster the responses, invite in much faster the responses to the problems that you seek. And so you might brace yourself for a few mishaps this coming time. There might be several things that you think you should keep intact, but that might come apart and show you that you don't really need them. You can go by with trust, and trust that what is happening for a reason. Our love again to you. Brian asks, I keep feeling distortion or a lot of energy changes and fish-like and corpse entities, but what would invite these beings? Yes. You see, it is one of the universal laws of the cosmos that you cannot perceive on the outside what you don't resonate with at the inside. That is this level of, you could say, separation that's necessary to have an external experience of consciousness, or the manifested dream, which you call existence. That is how these entities essentially work. So they are never independent of your energy. And so what they're bringing forward is they're clearing out a lot of things. Well, partially you are experiencing, because we sense that you have been quite connected to the sea in quite a lot of lifetimes. And this also means that you have suffered the death of drowning in some cases. And there's this type of suffocation sitting within your energy body. And if you begin again to work around, and you could even take the thymus here as a sign. If you begin to focus on that, you may sense that there is a type of constriction there, which actually also hails from the sense of drowning, which you have to some extent also repeated in this lifetime by creating a experience where you felt restricted. And so these things, know that they do not come up into your consciousness or present themselves as entities without offering to actually heal you by being understood. And it would do you great help to play dead for a little while. That is to say, try to get into the place where your nervous system is completely shut off. And this is, of course, not possible without you leaving your body and not being able to retrieve it or return to it. But if you try to move towards the deadness of experience, you will begin to sense the life within you. And then we also sense there is a Christian motif here. See, what you are partially experiencing is also the shift of the energies. You are aware that the eon of Pisces is ending, and he promised you in Acts, we believe it was, that he would be with you till the end of the eon. And now this energy that you experienced and cultivated as concentrated in the figure you call Christ, is beginning to reside in all of you. It's beginning to offer itself as something that's collective rather than personal, as something that is creative rather than salvific. We believe the name is that it doesn't aim to save you. It brings forward your ability to save yourself. And that is, in a sense, what is being communicated with you here symbolically, and why some of these things are approaching you. And you can summon my energy, but we do sense that the Archangel Michael would be helpful for you to invoke or summon or connect with when you feel that these negative things are approaching and you need assistance. My love to you.
Yes. And Kevin asks, this refers to a dream interpretation from Friday night. There were a bunch of different beings. They seemed elemental or Fey-type beings. We were in a circular fashion and were on a body of water. All I remember was that I was whirling around the water, and the beings upon in a fast circular motion. Thanks and much love.
We feel we should point out to you again the wonderful matchups of the questions and the synchronous nature of these unfoldings, as the channelists never cease to be amazed at it, because the images that we are beaming to him is those of another shamanic vision. That is, you are also connecting to the natural spirits and the natural energies. And notice that this body of water is, in a sense, your emotional abundance that they are trying to concentrate. And so this is another pattern of the divine feminine trying to connect with you, the enchanted fairy beings, the enchanted sprites that bring forward the energy into your conscious field through the communication of the dream pattern. And there creates a magic circle on which you are protected and in which you are concentrated in your being. I know that you are the entire body of water, but it is necessary for this sacred encirclement for you to also conserve the feminine energies, the flowing energies, the natural. And that is not to say that the male is not natural, but you could say what is effortlessly there. It is something that is reaching out to you. And of course, it would reach out in the beautiful, effortless vision of a dream, where these fate protectresses, they came to you and encircled you with light and love. My love to you.
Yes. Okay, here's another one. Love to you, OG Indigo. And he asks, Mother, how many moon daughters surround me? Any names? And how best can I assist my female partner and the divine feminine collectively?
Yes, you yourself surround you as spiritually a daughter of the moon. And we sense that you are also quite aligned with this energy. And then there is the female partner you have. Notice that she bears great moon energy in her. And you do service to her. You protect and cultivate these energies by allowing for things to be contained. That is, we would use the metaphor more precisely, that you are the gardener and she is the flower in this respect, and they each exist for each other's purpose in this context. So she is bringing nourishing life to you, and you are bringing growth by tending to the environment, by allowing for the different fluctuations of fate to take their place for her and for you, knowing that your garden is well tended to. And know that you would not be here posting this question if this was not an ambition that was alive in you. And this means that it is also being worked through you quite helpfully, quite powerfully. It is being worked through you. And therefore, you do tend to the feminine. And you also do so by seeing yourself as a daughter of the moon, someone who howls with the wolves at times, and someone who occasionally feels energy so overpowering that they also may need a loving embrace. And so remember to ask for it, and know that when you ask for an embrace, arms will open, because there is much love for you here and there as well. Our love to you.
Yes, and Kitsula asks, could you please explain how beings live below the surface? Is it beneficial to humans to spend time below the surface? I love the idea of living within the earth. I have had visions of other lives with such condition. Will the cities of the future explore this idea?
Yes. You see, your past life experiences, they also partially relate to you having lived in caves in prior lives. That is to say, living the life of a sadhu or a hermit, a type of person who renounces the world and returns into the basic energies. And then these lifetimes are connecting with visions of your future self or future other existences that are exploring the idea of living through Earth. Well, you will already begin to play around with underground bases, and you could say, in a sense, you have played around with it in ideas such as bunkers. But it would take a type of genetic modification for you to become completely accustomed to going without sunlight. You have, in a sense, the prerequisite technologies to realize a type of inner Earth civilization, or at least below surface civilization. But at present, it is not something that seems as wanted as staying on the surface for many people. And so the inner Earth creatures that actually resist or exist in the center of the Earth, reside was the word, they do so by moving, you could say, almost telepathically through phases. So they don't reside on oxygen, instead they exist on, well, their ability to, we are trying to translate this, well, their ability to read the energetic grid of certain base minerals that are present in low concentrations in the earth, and then by adjusting their energy field to that, then aligning with those energies, they are able to sort of shift between these more dense spaces with a lightness in being that makes their energy field sort of sit in between the spaces of the earthen molecules, but still they connect as intact. And when they connect to you, they have many appearances, though this idea of a mole people is an presentation that they like to play around with, because it's also very meaningful to you to have this experience of the warm core, the Mother Earth, the nourishing core, that thing which never dies out and that is always feeding you life. And you can explore this. There are, of course, alternative Earths where this is explored, but you will begin to then become something quite different than humans. And these beings exist, but they are far more grayish in tone, and they have also relinquished quite a lot of their thirst for water, these earthen future humans that of which we speak. Our love to you. May you get your own underground cave one day to enjoy.
Yes, and yes. There's still time. We're on second question. So shoot if you have some questions. If there is still time to answer, dear kind Sarah, may you guide us into having open communication with our higher self, our own oversoul, as well as communing with the oversoul of others. Thank you.
Yes. You are welcome to receive this now, or you can play it back. But you can close your eyes and then sense a spacious cavity within you. Sense it growing to a cavern full of spaces and full of undiscovered places that you can travel, and see yourself seated, set alight within this cavern, glowing naturally, self-luminous, a light with white, bright, beautiful light of most radiant healing. And within this, you are always protected, you are always knowing, and you are always guided. You can then, within this cavern, which is an image or a symbol of your personal experience, when you are seated there as your higher self, illuminated, you can invite in all those higher selves that you wish to communicate with. If you want a gathering or a collective illumination, then you simply invite them in to create a collective energy field within that shared cavernous space. If you want to make peace with someone you know, you can envision their bright, beautiful light, their energy as before their thought forms, illuminating that being from within that's seated with you. And there you can have conversations. You can reach out and hold hands and exchange energy, and you can clear out emotions for each other. This is a helpful way of doing it. And we recommend that you undertake this practice because you are becoming collectively illuminated, and it is very helpful that this light is exchanged between you.
Our deepest love and blessings. And Kas Wixit CR 987654321. It was a consecutive row of numbers. He says, "Hi Mads and respected Gaia, greetings. Is Lemuria the most ancient civilization on Earth, and is Hinduism the oldest religion?" Thank you, Shyam. Oh, Shamlal. Great. Good to be with you, friend of the show. Yes, these are beautiful questions. Lemuria was a type of gateway between previous civilizations. You may have heard of others. We believe we have heard talk of one such as Mu was the name given to it, but there were many other type of civilizations, because I have in many of my life cycles borrowed my sphere, my planetary energy to civilization processes. You could even think of the Sasquatch as a type of civilization. They are exploring things right now in a higher frequency band of this earth, though it does somewhat connect with yours. And that is why they are also able to phase in and out of your experience and offer guidance and mystery to you. But Lemuria was special in that it was the first case in which the successful hominid human became merged with star energies or galactic energies, merged with your higher dimensional selves. So they were existing at a slightly higher frequency band than you are now, but it is a frequency band that you are moving towards, and you will, we sense approximately in 50 years or so, around the year 2070, you will begin to feel that you have connected to the astral energies, that you are again becoming these beings completely, and that your outside society reflects it. And so, in a sense, we would say that Hinduism is not the oldest religion. That is, of course, depending on how you consider religion, but the oldest religion is the religion of light. And so the chronology, as I am presented with it here, is that essentially there was a divergence between the people who went west and the people who went south to the Himalayas. And there, this fruitful continent produced or infused this religion of light with a different type of worship. It saturated it with some powerful natural energies that were needed to create these cycles. And so it is a very, very spiritual system, but more akin to the religion of light is the religion of Zoroastrianism, or the religion of the Avesta. The Avesta is, of course, also an ancient remnant of the worship of light. And so it was turned into fire worship and the worship of sacrifice as you went through this period of forgetting, both individually but as civilizations. But it is the same spark that is alive. It is the spark that's connected to the highermost and innermost. And in that sense, could say the turning towards the Brahman is exactly the worship of light. And the worship of light is exactly what makes up you as conscious beings. You are beings that have chosen to reside in the dark reside in the light rather than in the dark. And this means that you are becoming very powerful seers, because it is exactly the sense
that discerns the light with great sensitivity, and it is the sense that you are connected to. Lemuria is reconnecting, and you can go there should you want to visit their crystalline temples and search for the lifetimes you had there. So many of you had lifetimes there exploring this project. My blessings and love. Yes, and I think this is also a two-parter. Sophia asks, "Dear Mother Earth, would you be able to send some healing to me that I need?" And she also asks, "And blessings, Mother, how do we invoke you to heal ourselves?" And as a personal side note, I can just say I've gotten really into reading Ursula Le Guin here lately. So thank you for the recommendation. But we will ask her. Yes. I'm already with you, transmitting this healing to you. And this is one answer to a two-part question, because my energy is always being offered to you. And so please open yourself to the healing that is there. Please know that the unfortunate feelings that you may feel are obscuring your vision, clouding your senses, they are only patches of dirt on an otherwise clean surface. You are pure, untainted, in every moment, born anew, not set into any connection that you do not choose, not mandated to choose anything that you do not seek, not seeking anything that is not of your innermost core. You can invoke my being by speaking the words, "Dear Mother, you who carry me along, you who uphold my being, you who nourish and sustain me, please hold me, please rock me in the cradle of your energy, and let me know that I am protected through this seesaw of life, this swinging into unknowns where I often lose my footing. When I do, you catch me and uphold me. You allow me to fail and falter, and you show me that I am myself, perfect and perfectly protected in the spirit of the divine and in all that surrounds me. Our blessings and our deep healing to you, beloved one, our love. Yes, and thanks, guys. I'm also getting a little tired, so I think we'll round this up. But this one has personal relevance to me, as I'm also kind of scared of spiders. And Autumn Rose asks, "Blessings, Mother, what can I do to remove my fears of insects?" Yes. This is a helpful question. We know this is something that many humans experience, and it seems like they never leave people cold. They are either mesmerized or fascinated by them, or they are perceived as a threat, as something potentially harmful and scary. Know that it is the unworldly character of these beings that in many ways frightens you. Of course, it is not a bad idea to worry about poisonous animals if you live in Australia, but for most of you, these are irrational fears that are fed by partially old human akashic patterns, the sense of being bitten by the scorpion, the sense of being poisoned by the tainted snail that you had to eat in a fit of hunger. So many of these experiences have taught you to avoid these creatures. But what you can do is you can do the empathetic exercise of realizing that this creature, though not a verbalized consciousness, is also having a conscious experience. And though the end is the singular end, apart from the queen, is completely ingrained in the energy field of the hive or the anthill, that it is still having a specific sensory experience that it is transmitting back to the consciousness of the anthill. And so know that these beings are just as wanted for the expansion of all there is that they also need to be, and learn to also appreciate that you are fascinated by them, that you would not be so appalled if you didn't feel a type of attraction to this otherworldly phenomenon, to the beautiful mechanics of how the insect body is constructed, the carapace in all its colors, and the powerful hind legs that make for unpredictable jumpers and movers. You can try to imagine, how would my nervous system feel like if it felt like a slug? How would it be to crawl around on the bottom of the forest floor, slowly helping everything to decompose faster by bringing it through my body? How would it feel to be a spider spinning webs? How would it feel to be a grasshopper eating leaves? These are all experiences that are being had within my energy field, and so they are accessible for you to access. And then another pragmatic thing is that if you can, learn to greet any insect that comes into your home or private space, and to get it out of there without necessarily ending its existence. Because when you end its existence or you kill it, this means that you transfer that sense of hostility to the outside world, and you will now begin to feel that being as even more hostile the next time you see a spider hiding in a nook. And therefore, learn to be compassionate for all things. Though we know it is hard, even the attempt will teach you to be a little less tense around these beings, and that is wanted in and of itself. And so therefore, my love to you in this, and know that they are also participating in this unfolding.
Yes, I think there was a final beautiful question here, which I think would sum it up as the last one. Laura asks, would you talk to us about the changes to your own crystalline grid in the last 8 to 12 years? I will. She will. Yes. You see, of course, in a perspective, I was already in this higher vibrational crystalline grid, but you chose to bring yourself there by aligning with me through my vibration, or through you attuning and heightening your own vibration. But on these timelines that we are exploring together, my crystalline grid has been heightening. And so you could say it becomes more dense, or it becomes more high pitch, is another way of thinking about it.
And so you could think of as a higher density as all something that's so dense that it hides within plain sight, unable to be registered by you. So this is an idea of how you can then experience this is simply by the movement of changes on the planet in the outside world, the flux of current events. And you have seen so many of your systems that have hitherto worked break down or begin to falter and act strangely under these new energies. I could point to the uncertainty of your economic systems that have existed within the last 12 years of your collective human experience. I could point to the increasing strangeness of your personal experiences, the individuals gathered here within the 8 years. These are some of the things that you perceive as the changes. I also perceive it as a clearing out of sorts. And so increased tectonic activity is a type of, well, it is a wanted side effect, but it may to you seem as a side effect of, unwanted side effect of this type of planetary metamorphosis I'm going into. I know that as you ascend, I ascend to hold your energies, and the energy grid around me has become upgraded and protected by many different species, for instance, such as the members of the Galactic Alliance, to no further accommodate the same energies than they did before. And so this is also why you experience some of the more malevolent beings. You may have approached them as the reptilians. Some of them have begun to heighten their own energy and to explore these pathways with you, to come into the light with you. And this has to do with this heightening of the grid, that within this space, only light or more and more light is allowed until the dispersion of light and dark becomes radically altered into more luminous qualities of existence. And so this sense of self-illumination, it is something you can begin to have if you shut yourself in a dark room with open eyes for approximately 20 to 40 minutes, though it may vary on your state of concentration and relaxation. You will begin to see things in the dark that are luminous and are emanating from you. And this is a result of that grid which we create and uphold together as conscious beings in this time space. And therefore, I would like to give you a reminder of this grid through a transmission of tones, and I will do that and leave you with a final prayer and blessing. You have seen much, but you ain't seen nothing yet. There is still so much to come, and there is still so much to get. There is still much to discover. There is still much to uncover. There are still a lot of flow in the places you will go. Therefore, be blessed and know that we are flowing together on this journey. May all the elements come alive within you. May you be strengthened and upheld by all that is, you wonderful human being, my sweet child. Blessings. Yes, hello guys. Thank you for all the beautiful questions. Like I'm surprised that I know we've done it a lot, but I'm surprised every time at these live streams. It's just so much beautiful energy being fed into them, and I really feel all your sweet intentions and your wonderful wise questions, and we're all growing with this. So thank you, my appreciation. And I hope to see you on the next one. I don't know quite when it will be, but probably in a week or so, I imagine. And thank you for being here. Take care. Much love.